Are you looking to maximize the amount of money that you can make from side hustles? If so, don't forget to join the Side Hustler Society newsletter so you can stay up to date and posted on when we come out with new content. By joining the newsletter, you will also receive Chapter 5 of my best selling book, The Anatomy of Financial Success. This chapter specifically focuses on income as well as the various types of income and what income will work best for you based on your expectations and overall what you want when it comes to money. Go to www.fachapter.com to join the newsletter and get started. What's up, everyone? This is Elijah with the Side Hustler Society podcast. And by a popular demand, I've actually found a designer in the clothing industry to interview for you guys. His name is John Thomas, and I'm excited about this video because I've actually known him from quite some time. There's a lot of people who want to hop in the clothing industry, and they end up getting mixed up with Teespring and Spreadshop, that kind of thing. For those of y'all that don't know what that is, that's a means that you can branch off into the clothing industry by having people go to your online store, and one of these companies will handle the shipping of the product to you, but you lose a lot of leverage, if you will. You can't control really the quality of the shirt, and obviously they're going to take the bulk share of the revenue since they are handling the manufacturing side. Keep in mind that's still a good choice for like someone like me who may want to have my own merch. I actually do have my own merch. You can check it out at thesidehustlersociety.com. But for me, it's really passive, and they just ship it to the customer, so that works fine. But what about people that want to actually take it to the next level, handle the manufacturing, maybe increase their margins, maybe get it into certain stores, maybe even open their own store? John has actually done this whole song and dance. I think that's the saying. I might be butchering that saying, but he's actually been in the game since 2014, and he has his own clothing line called Fly Forever, and he just opened a physical store called Jacob and John. He went to design school and got an associate's in fashion design and a bachelor's in merchant design. On top of that, he just recently got his master's in finance, so he actually has gone to established institutions to teach him how to do this whole designing thing. So he's going to break down that knowledge in terms of marketing and also just some tips on how to get the design business started in this podcast. So let's go ahead and bring him on the podcast. I'll hit you with this intro.
Welcome to the Side Hustler Society podcast with your host, Elijah Bilal. This is where you can find out more about hustles that are best for you. And of course, make more money in the process. Elijah has been in the gig economy and freelance space for over 5 years and has done over 3,000 deliveries on Uber Eats. He's an Airbnb superhost, runs multiple YouTube channels, and is the author of the best-selling book, The Anatomy of Financial Success. It's his mission to empower people with the tools needed to be successful. Now, welcome your host, the king of side hustles, Elijah Bilal.
So, John, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. You know, as an entrepreneur, it's always a roller coaster. I can quite say for our days, the ebbs and flows, but today everything's going good.
You're not kidding about that. When it comes to this hustling journey, sometimes it's nonstop. It goes in its own cycles, right? Like it's heavy, like one moment, then it's more relaxed and heavy. It can be a little chaotic. Am I right?
Yes.
Right. All right. So for the audience, why don't you tell us like a little bit about yourself and how Jacob and John got started? Because obviously, I've known you from back in the days when we both worked at Amazon. Pretty funny how where we are right now. You got your own clothing line, and I have my own podcast and financial anatomy. It's crazy how two ambitious people can really make stuff happen. But it'd be nice if the audience can hear some of that to get inspired, so that maybe they can duplicate some of that success. So, how did Jacob and John get started?
Well, actually, that's a good question. I actually started design school back in 2014. I went to Wade College, where I got my associates in fashion design and I got my bachelor's in merchandising design. Within that process I started my first label, Fly Forever, it was one of them things where I was creating and doing a lot of different graphics and everything. And at first, I started off with just T-shirts and hats, things along that nature. And then as I started getting traction, I started getting more serious with it, and I started getting down to the detail and the technical side of things. I said, you know what, this is something I'm really gonna pursue because
Hmm.
I always wanted to be a designer from back when I was at high school. Me and my friends, we used to buy Gucci and Louis Vuitton pieces at a bigger size and cut them up and customize them out to our own liking. So we can always have one-on-one pieces of stuff that nobody else have. So something fashion was something I was always passionate about. I started off with my first line, Fly Forever. But as I got serious with it and started getting more into trying to get into the stores, I kept running into a roadblock where they saying it was similar to other brands that they already carried. So I kind of tired of that, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna switch my business model around, make things more personal to me, and that's how I ended up coming up with the name Jacob and John. My name is John Paul Thomas. My son name is Jacob Isaiah Paul Thomas. And so I put Jacob first and John and then just put it together. And that what led to me being now with my main label, Jacob and John.
Oh man, that's beautiful. I didn't know that Jacob and John came from the combination. Well, I obviously knew your name is John, but I didn't know that Jacob was your son. So like that's crazy. You kind of directly slash indirectly have already made it so that when this brand stands the test of time, you could actually pass it on to your boy, and it's very organic and natural.
Yes, yes. And that's what I kind of like to focus on. I kind of like to be more organic with things. Not to say that with Fly Forever it wasn't organic,
Hmm.
but it didn't feel it wasn't a connection there. It was something that I started off on a whim and I was just going from there. You know how as an entrepreneur we start one way and then we might not have a direction, but we just know we want to build something. And that will Fly Forever it was. But when I switched to Jacob and John, I kind of got more serious with things for knowing my target market, knowing
Hmm.
what direction I want to take it, knowing the steps I want to take with this part of the brand and how I want to build it out. And I knew it was going to take time, and I'm just growing it slowly but surely. I like to tell people that I'm building it. I'm building the plane as I fly.
And that fly is going to be flying forever, right?
Yes, sir.
Pun intended. That's powerful, and it's very akin to the hustler's journey. Obviously, this is the Side Hustler Society podcast, and there's a oh man, what is the name of that book? It escapes. Yeah, here it is. Create Money: Keys to Abundance. The author is a Sonia Roman, and like one thing she talks about is the ability to go with the flow if you're an entrepreneur because you're going to have multiple passions, and eventually a passion may run out for one thing and it will kind of lead into the next thing, but it might be mostly scary to go ahead and go on with that new thing, but that new thing is what's going to be bringing in the bread. So a rule of thumb is if you follow your passion, oftentimes the money will follow, but if you don't follow your passion, you might as well be working a job, in my opinion.
Yes, yes. I kind of had them same beliefs too, because even in the midst of working your passion, you still may have to work a job just until you start bringing in the revenue where you're able to just live off your passion. So
Mm-hmm.
that even speaking of that, when the pandemic hit, I could speak for myself. My passion, I had kind of lost a few $1,000s with my passion, lost some accounts and everything, but I was able to pick up other streams of income, which got me to invest into the Airbnb business. I
Right,
started
right.
first property in 2020 of October, and then I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of scared to jump out there by myself, but I did some research and I invested in my first property. I started off with a budget of $2,500 of what I'm gonna take to Um,
furnish the place.
furnished the place and everything, and I wasn't gonna spend no more than that. I ended up spending like $2,385 if I can remember correctly with my first one. But it taught me a huge lesson getting that first property because I made a bunch of mistakes with it, and I knew moving.
Mistakes to learn for.
Yes, it really wasn't mistakes. It was just lessons learned that moving forward, if I wanted to continue doing it, which I did, because I ended up acquiring 5 other properties within the process, within 1 year's time, and that extra income had been what's just helped me sustain me throughout this whole pandemic and everything. Really, over the last year and a half, almost 2 years.
Right, right. Fun little history lesson for everyone. John is actually the one that inspired me to get into the Airbnb game. When we had touched bases a little after the pandemic was starting to wind down, he had mentioned he had some properties on Airbnb. So I asked him a few questions, and he answered them. I was like, huh, you know what? That's actually I wouldn't mind actually dabbling into that myself. So he kind of inspired me to get involved with the Airbnb properties. And that's a huge part of this podcast is actually playing an inspirational role to inspire people to do things, and also laying a pathwork to make those things very achievable. So that's powerful.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. Uh, Well, one, I want to say that's a good thing that I was able to inspire you, but then two, like I even told you not too long ago, you even inspired me too, just to use the different platforms, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, how you can able to monetize it for your business, your personal brand, and help things grow along the nature. Because I was one of them people that was under the belief of I do the work and then just post as I go from time to time. But then too, as I start sitting back and looking at it, people want to see the process. People want to see you document the process. Not none of us got it right the first time. We all
And
make mistakes.
and if they said they did, they lying.
Exactly. And if it's too good to be true, most likely it is as well. So it's one of the things where I find myself now opening it up more to my consumers, getting more knowledgeable, more letting them know me, bringing them into my world, even if I'm showing them things on the back end, for with the designs and everything, or the mistakes I made in the Airbnb business. I always tell people I'm an open book. I like to
Mhm.
help people as they continue to grow along their own journey, even as someone was there to help me make certain mistakes and help avoid me from making different pitfalls in the business of an entrepreneur. Because one thing we all know, none of us got all of the answers, and we're gonna have our ups and our downs throughout this journey. So
You know, I think this is a mad teachable moment, but people listening, one thing that can skyrocket you to success is just watch who you hang around. What I mean by that is y'all just literally heard how we inspired each other in different venues, and we've benefited from it. Get around people that are doing stuff. You'd be surprised how much easier things get. Not just in terms of these people can help you out, but just monitoring their progress can be inspiring to yourself, and vice versa. There's too much lone wolf stuff going on, in my opinion, when it comes to the hustle game. And I honestly think that if more people just linked up with more people like them, things would just go a little smoother.
yes, because you have someone to lean on when them dark nights and you trying to figure out yourself. You can have somebody you can call that'll be able to understand what you're going through as an entrepreneur. Because to be
Right,
honest, the entrepreneur game is not for everybody. And
right,
so out there trying to do it on your own, you're not gonna get far doing it on your own. You'll get ahead. You may think you're getting ahead, but then you're gonna come into a bunch of roadblocks where you're gonna need that one motivation, some inspiration, just in that drive, just to continue going along your trail. And then when you have somebody you can look and lean towards, that you can call on at certain times of the day, be like, hey, I'm going through this, I'm trying to figure this out. Or do you even just have any assistance or guidance to be able to help me get to the next level? that can be that next person you can lean on. That's why it's good to have a good network of people. And like he mentioned earlier, we both used to work together at Amazon. And not to say we was loving that place, but we knew we wasn't gonna be there too much longer.
Well, I will say this: I'm not crapping on Amazon. I enjoyed it for what it was, but clearly it
Yeah,
was a stepping stone to the next step.
exactly.
Right. Okay. So a lot of people, when it comes to the designer business, they may be interested in trying to get it started, but they may be confused as far as what equipment would they need to actually officially get things started. Do you have any commentary that you want to add to people who might be aspiring to start some kind of design business, and what equipment would they need to get started?
Um, the best advice I always tell people is try to get knowledge, soak up as much knowledge as you can before you jump out there in the fashion.
Hmm.
What about it now? Granted, I went to school for it,
Right.
so I learned a lot of my skills and everything. I learned that in school, but you don't technically have to go to school for it. It's not required or anything. I just chose. That's just my route. That's just my backstory. Even if you reading books on YouTube, things along that nature, or you even do some internships under different fashion houses. Learn as much knowledge as you can before you actually jump out there because it just get very expensive. Once you learn, once you learn the design and everything, it's good to know what different material you want to work with. That'll help
Hmm.
you along the way because you can start speaking with manufacturers. You can see that, well, if I want to create this piece, create that piece, you'll know how to speak that language that the manufacturers understand what you mean, because that can get costly as well. And even before you start producing your first piece, they'll want to know the different fabrics and everything along that nature you want to use. And always know your target market. When you know your target market, you know who you're selling to, you know what type of material they like, you know the things that they like. Take that into account and then just go for it. And like I say, man, I jumped out there and finally went out on my own and said, I'm going to do this and start taking this serious. And it prepared me into rooms that I never could imagine, from being featured in Vogue magazine last in the December issue all the way to now opening up my first store most recently. It's one of them things where I can only imagine how far it's going to take me even in the future. But granted, I got a portfolio that I created back in design school where I had everything laid out that I wanted to do within the my next few years. And
Hmm.
even with the portfolio, I'm just looking through it since I finally found it again. I didn't done almost everything literally in the portfolio that I said I was gonna do. So you just got to stick to what your goals are and what your dreams are, and just go after it. Don't allow nobody to tell you it's untenable. You can't do it. I didn't heard everything in the fashion industry. Right? Nobody not gonna wear your stuff. Even from some celebrities telling me no, I'm not gonna wear it or none of that. But that don't do nothing but motivate me and drive me to continue to keep going with my passion, my dreams.
Right. And you mentioned know your target market. Uh, Kind of relating that back to the Airbnb stuff, I could seriously see how there's a correlation. It's like with the Airbnb stuff, I cater to business travelers, and all the amenities I make available are catered towards them, like having a work desk sticking a plug. You can plug your computer into it as well as the USB drives. Having high speed internet, like all these things are catering to that target market. So it's not surprising that they're the ones that are mainly booking. So that target market is very key, and it obviously carries over into the clothing business. Oh,
Yes, and not to cut you off, the target market is a big thing because you don't want to be in the wrong area trying to sell to people who not necessarily say they can't afford it, but it's just not correlating. It's you'll find that you're not getting that foot traffic that you want to, or you're not getting that clicks on your website or things along that nature, and
Hmm.
then you'll be thinking you doing something wrong, which you might be doing the right things, but you just need to make sure your product is being placed in the right rooms in the right areas where you can be put in place of certain eyes or people who want to buy your clothes or potentially will buy your clothes will be able to see it, because it's all about being seen. And then don't limit yourself as well. A lot of us
Hmm.
think just because one group of people seeing it on IG that's the whole world. No, you got other groups of people on Facebook, other groups of people that's TikTok, other groups of people who don't even use social media. And they just see it. They like to go inside different stores and see it, to touch it, feel it, understand the material and everything. So it's a lot of people out here in the world who want to see your product, want to see your ideas, want to see what you're working on, or even like in the Airbnb business, who want to get in, stay into your places. They just want to know that they're being taken care of at the best quality, and it's enough for the things that they looking to do in your Airbnb, and they're able to make that happen.
Right. Just got a Rich Dad Poor Dad interlude for everyone. But this is the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I think everyone's heard of him at this point. But in that book, he had mentioned, well, it might not have been that one. I got a bunch of his books, but in one of his books, he mentioned that Rich Dad Poor Dad, his books were placed in this car wash, but the car wash was known for having affluent people going in and out of the car wash, paying like a bunch of money just to get their car washed. And he specifically picked those type of car washes because those are the type of people that would see the book like, oh, I'm pretty financially astute. Let me see what this book has to offer. If he had just put it in any other car wash, those books probably would have still been there. It's the place category when it comes to the 4 P's of business. That's
Yeah.
very key. It's very critical towards success, especially when you have a product based business.
Yes, it really is. And even with my own product, knowing my target market, just to backtrack on what I mean by being featured in Vogue magazine, that was a good product placement for me, because I know the type of crowd that I'm trying to attract and the type of consumer I'm trying to reach. With them seeing my pieces in Vogue magazine and being featured in that last year, it was one of them things where it helped just solidify myself as a designer, my brand name, as I continue building and being able to highlight that throughout my journey.
Right. So you mentioned that maybe finding some type of internship as far as like a designer could be beneficial. Like, could you go into more detail as far as how a person would do that? Like, would they just like Google it, or like if they really wanted to try that, how would they go about it?
Well, it's a few ways. You can Google different fashion houses in your local area that you may work in, that you may stay in, but it's one of them things where potentially it's better to be in certain areas of the market in the fashion industry. What I mean by that, whether if you're in New York or you're in LA or if you're in Texas in the Dallas area, go around in the fashion district where it's a lot of different manufacturers, things along that nature, where a lot of pieces get made, because you can learn the back end of the business first. And it's good to turn for them type of positions and just walk through the doors and ask someone, I'm looking to try to learn the business. I'm looking to try to get into the fashion industry. I want to learn how this thing work and how that thing work, and see what if they have any open positions for you to be able to just intern on a daily basis. Also, good websites to use, cfda.com. They have different intern positions there for different designers, whether it's designers who starting off or all the way up to designers that's already established in the game. You can find different intern positions on there. WGSN, that's another good website you can look on for us in the fashion industry. You can find different intern positions on there as well. And it's just about getting out there and just, it's a lot of different ways to do it, because it's a lot of different designers out here. It might
Right.
not be fashion designer, it might be designer who makes suits in the industry or just make dresses, or they just make apparel for different companies. but they still a designer. But just learning the back end business, you seeing how they operate, seeing how we operate overall as a designer, and it's one of them things where you could take what you learned and then incorporate it in your own business and your own journey.
Right. So that's a good way to get your Damon John on, huh?
Exactly.
For people who don't know what that is, that's the founder of Fubu. You want to know more about him? Check out Shark Tank. Yeah, he's pretty frequent. Well, he's a regular on there, but when he talks, he's one of the few people on there. Him and Mr. Wonderful, when they speak, it's usually like some deep game. The rest of them, they love to talk to hear themselves talk, but usually those two, they actually drop some jewels.
Yes, yes, it really is. And he very instrumental. He very inspirational. Really, I can say in my own personal life, because like him as well. He was a fashion designer, but he also an investor too in other numerous businesses and everything. And I can speak that to my own journey because even though I got my degree in fashion design and everything, I recently graduated from the University of Dallas with my master's degree in finance. And throughout that, I like to do other investments as well when it comes to, as we say, real estate with the Airbnb business, whether it's leveraging different properties on there. And then I kind of got some other things in the pipeline that I'm working on where that I'm not ready to speak about, but
Right.
in due time, you're going to find out more information about it.
You might want to make some space in your schedule because I know Damon John is getting older. Like when he steps down from Shark Tank, you might be a good replacement. You might be getting hit up by ABC. I'm
Exactly.
just letting you know right now.
Let's keep that into because hopefully I work my way up to that level.
Right. So you've already kind of touched on this a little, but there are multiple ways to like promote like a clothing brand. Which way have you found to be like the most effective for you?
Um, I found like depending on the crowd I'm trying to reach, it's good to promote it on social media. And what I mean by this aspect, only in the sense of letting people see your journey from when you first started to where you're at currently. Because
Mm,
don't nobody just want to see the end game of it. You kind of build more connection and the realness with people when they see the journey from day one all the way up until where you at the point of your life. It kind of help people build that connection, build that realness, and just be able to want to build and support you organically. Now,
mhm.
granted, as you get in the fashion business, you'll see it's a lot of politics on it, or just on the business side of it.
I was
But
about to say, isn't that business in general? That's
yeah,
not unique to this business.
yeah, it really is. But of building that connection with your consumer and everything, let them understand that you documenting all the process, and you could just really do that by leveraging social media to different platforms. Because someone like myself, like I told you earlier, I used to be a real private person, but as
Mhm.
I watch you in your journey, how you utilize different platforms and you're able to do your podcast and do your other business ventures and you able to connect them all together. I remember one day when you told me, matter of fact, that you were gonna start a page on doing the financial literacy and everything. And now that I see you doing it and everything, that's just more motivation for me to be like, I got to make sure I'm utilizing all these different platforms on a daily basis, whether it be TikTok, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Instagram,
Mhm.
whether even if it's LinkedIn. Now, side note, LinkedIn kind of get tricky because I only use that for my professional work, but I still make business posts on there. But it kind of then got me in some trouble. I'm just gonna say not literally,
Okay.
but it kind of got me different jobs that I contract positions with different clients. They asked the question of like, why are you trying to do this and you got your own business and things along this. It's one of them things where they just want to
Gotcha.
about your personal life.
I hear. I can see that. And as far as like just documenting your process so people can see where you started, that's powerful because it makes you relatable. like to this day, I still have my very first YouTube video up on the app Lifestyle, and you can see I'm stiff as hell. I'm extremely reserved, and it's still left up, and it hasn't even got that many views because it's the first video, but it's still there so people can see where I started. A lot of people build this perception of you if they don't see your humble beginnings. They like, oh, you're up here and I'm like down here. How am I supposed to reach that? When they see where you started, that's just more inspiration. That, oh, you know what? Everyone starts somewhere. Let me just get started and I'll steadily improve. And that could be in anything in life. And of course, when they do steadily improve and get that disposable income, you're going to be towards the top of the list that they want to spend that money with.
Yes, yes. It's one of them things where people want to see the process. And even when it comes to, like I say, me recently opening up my first store, people see that to know exactly why I started that from back in 2014 when I first started design school and I made the transition to follow my passions. Even at the time when I was just printing shirts and selling hats and everything along that nature, to now see me running a full store, producing whole collections of things along that line, even being featured in magazines and everything. They know that they didn't watch where I started at and where I'm going and where I'm going moving forward. And then too,
Mhm.
it gives them that motivation one to know that I can actually support this person. And then two, it's just like it's a motivational testament to where I maybe need to go after them goals that I've been putting off, them dreams and everything that I've been putting off for the longest. Because, like I always tell people, one thing we can guarantee in life, the things are gonna happen. In all of our personal life, things are gonna happen. So just go for it, and then even when the roadblocks come, just find a way to navigate it. If it don't happen right now, later on down the line, when it do happen, you can already have your ducks in the row to where things can prepare you to the next level. And I can say that for myself. That's how I say it's going.
Nicely put. When it comes to this type of business, what would you say is your biggest challenge that you've encountered, and how did you solve it? Because a lot of people are probably wondering, like, well, if I try and follow this dream of being a designer, I'm going to encounter challenges. But like, how did you solve the? What is your biggest challenge that you've had, and how did you solve it?
I say my biggest challenge is one is finding a good manufacturer
Hmm.
because that's I really lean on that as being the biggest challenge because the quality of your product gonna take you further than anything. You can have all the money in the world, but if you're not standing on quality in the fashion industry, you're gonna burn out fast. You could make one sale, but that one sale not gonna turn into a repeating customer. And then that one sale gonna go out and tell the next person like, nah, I didn't really like the stuff that I bought from that person because the quality of the product
So
didn't say
don't be having that Teespring quality.
nah. And I tell people that no matter if it's fashion industry or anything, as entrepreneurs, most of us don't have the big financial backing. So whatever business we get in, we got to be able to stand on quality over quantity. You'd rather have a
Good point.
good quality pieces of anything than a large quantity of a lot of BS pieces that you're not really satisfied with. That whether that be fashion industry or you in the counter business or the cologne business, anything, even if you have a bunch of Airbnb properties, if you're not
Hmm.
keeping quality up, you're gonna get put out of business by the next person because they'll rather go to someone that they more comfortable with, that they know that they name hold some weight of having quality stuff, or they putting thought into it. Because I always tell people, some people jump into the entrepreneur game as let me see how fast I can make a dollar, or the fast way to make the next sale, the get rich quick scheme. That doesn't really. live in this world as an entrepreneur, because you're gonna have to do your due diligence of making sure you vetting out quality manufacturers, quality material, and everything. And that what takes you farther in life. Having the quality piece, the quality product, and then one person will tell the next person, and that'll tell the next person, and eventually down the line, you'll have repeat customers and things along that nature.
Right. Food for thought for anyone just entering in business in general. Um, if you're not as if you have some type of product based business, not a service based business, a person's ego is as critical as their money. Like people like to stroke their ego and brag about products. And if you have a quality product, this is going to happen, and it's going to be to your favor. The
Yes.
opposite is also true. If you don't have quality, they're going to badmouth you. If you get a bad reputation, no one's going to want to buy your stuff. So keep the client's ego in mind too, and how you can serve that ego, especially if you're catering towards the higher like affluent class. When they spend money on things that are really not that much different from other stuff, but the quality is just better, and they want to pay for it. They got
Yeah.
the disposable income, but they do want increase in quality.
Exactly. Yeah, and they want to feel appreciated. Like I'm either buying this product and they want to feel good that they bought it, or I'm paying for this service and I know I'm getting my money's worth. They don't want to feel like they're getting taken advantage of. And at the sense, that's almost anyone, no matter what. You don't want to feel like you get taken advantage of. So I always try to tell people to lean on quality when it comes to specifically in the fashion industry, because I didn't been there at times where I want to put something out, but it's really not the best representation of my brand, and I had to fall back on that. Like, no, I'm just gonna
Mhm.
wait. And waiting is not necessarily a bad thing, because that's something that's really in our own head of us trying to rush. But I had to stand on waiting, and you know, it ended up working out in my favor.
Cool, cool. On that quality sale, this is actually a good question. Like, there's basically three price points. There's the cheapest price point, the middle of the road price point, and then the price point that's kind of high for your industry. They all have their pros and cons, but which one would you say your products fall under? And why did you choose to fit in that category?
I
Yo,
I chose to focus on like the middle class category, because that's really my target market. I,
okay,
I like to target the gentleman, well, the classification of people within the 25, 38 to 40-year old range that's really making the extra to be able to spend that extra on a quality shirt, on a quality jacket, things along that nature. Because I know them the type of pieces that I like to wear. So
right,
okay with spending quality prices on quality pieces that I like to wear in my everyday life, everyday walk of life, whether it's at work or whether it's going out for a drink or doing happy hour or even going out to a nightclub. I want to target them type of people that I'm usually around. And
right,
when it come in to the high luxury side of things, on the fashion side of the business, it's good to have that target client, but you kind of in the middle of diminishing a lot of people who may want to spend money with you. So if you're gonna target the luxury market, it's good to target that market, because them people have the money to spend as well. But you got to make sure your product is being placed in the right market to be able to reach them type of people. Because the ones who more on the luxury side of things, who spending on a regular basis, some of them are not on social media. Some of them are not having a lot of time on their hands. A lot of
mhm,
them are probably working a lot, making that extra money, or they may be retired, so they want to go to the department stores that sell them type of prices. And you might not even be able to sell a lot, but just know you're gonna be spending a lot of more money at the manufacturers for that better quality stuff. And then
mhm.
sell it at a higher price. And then if you want to sell it in the fast fashion side, that's good too, but you probably have a lot of inventory. And you kind of got a lot you got a lot of once you make your name, your foot in the game and your name in the game, you're gonna have that customer, the everyday customer who could spend 10, 12 to 15 to $20 on a shirt, for example. But you're
Mhm.
gonna be going through a lot of product, which you can't really go wrong in any of them. It's about finding a lane that fits best for you, and then
Right.
just go after it.
Okay. Because like usually if you're in the bottom of the market in terms of prices, the problem is like there's always someone trying to beat you in terms of price. And if you're on the higher end of the spectrum, you are going to have fewer people that you can serve. So you really got to be targeted in your marketing and getting it in front of them. And the middle price is where it is the most bloated, but it's not necessarily bloated with quality. So if you can compete on direct quality, you can stand out if you're in the middle price. Would you say that?
Yes, yes, I can. That that's kind of correct with it because you can't be trying to target the market of the middle class and the upper class, and then but you're selling your product, but you're only selling to you trying to be the audience of people that's in the lower class. And I don't want to. What I mean by that, you can't be trying to sell a high priced product to people who just don't have the money to be able to afford it.
Right.
It makes sense to be somewhere trying to promote Airbnb in an area that's really not the best place to have a property at, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's some things where you got to really take into account who is my customer is, who is the everyday customer, who could I see wearing my stuff. You even do a mood board on what type of celebrity I can see wearing this product or what type of consumer I see wearing this on an everyday basis and just work your way down that. There's certain check marks and certain checklists you need to have in line when you building that customer and then just go after that.
All right. Cool. Cool. So, audience is gonna want me to ask about the Benjamin. So we got to go there. but when it comes to like your designer business or clothing business, like how much would you say you pull in on a monthly basis?
Well, just from my online sales things along that nature, I do around almost 5,000 on a monthly basis. But just to be honest, that number has been tweaking a little bit lately because, as I mentioned, I recently just opened up a new store.
Right.
So lately, I've been getting more foot traffic on the inside of the store, and my numbers from the online sales been going down. So in total, just off my from my store and my online, within the last few months, I've been doing close to 10,000 a month,
Hmm.
which is still kind of good for someone in my nature because I just opened up the store and
Right.
it haven't even been a whole year yet. Now let's do another interview within the next year. It's totally different, but
Right. Plus, you're still somewhat on a rebound from the pandemic.
yes, and it's one of the things where I may be doing them type of numbers far as revenue on a monthly basis, but that don't mean I'm seeing that type of profit right now because, to be honest, the pandemic I done lost a bunch of wholesale accounts because I do wholesale as well with one of my brands. My main brand, Jacob and John, I still wholesale it to other department stores, things along that nature. And my Fly Forever brand, the pieces that I do sell, I only sell that in store and on the website. So it's one of
Mhm.
the things where I'm trying to play catch up and make some of my money back that I've lost over the time within the pandemic.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a good reason to be somewhat diversified, and you that's what you did with the Airbnb and just some of the other stuff that you've been looking at starting. So that's definitely something to take note of for people who are listening. Um, so I would say if someone was to do this on a part time basis, Because you're in the game full time. Do you have any advice for someone that wanted to get started part time?
Yes, it's like I always tell people: start with a few pieces. Don't try to start with too many pieces. Start with one, two, three good pieces, and then start online, and then just go from there. Don't
Mhm.
don't don't make the mistake like I did trying to start with a whole collection of things. Not to really say it was a mistake, but if I can rewind the hands of times, I probably would just started with a few good pieces and then just launch from there and trying to instead of starting with a bunch of pieces and it seemed like I was all over the place, which I wasn't in a sense because I was putting together my first collection, but at the same time I didn't have the funds to be able to get everything manufactured like I want to, and some pieces I just
Mm.
wasn't satisfied with. Start with you a few solid three or four good quality pieces that you're able to manufacture, and then just put it out there. Start your website, and then just go from there. Grow your social media following. Let everyone see the journey. Trust me, it's gonna take time. Don't compare yourself to too many people, but use people as inspiration. Don't use people as comparisons. What I mean by that, I thought even on my own personal social media platform, I do follow some other designers, but it's ones that I'm more inspired by. I don't try to follow too much because sometimes that can play in your head and have you thinking like I'm not where this person's supposed to be. Of course, I'm not going to be where this person is at because that person may have been doing it longer than me, or that person may have the funds to be able to have that financial backing to get to where he or she is at certain levels of their life. So we all got our own journey. Start with a few good pieces and then just build from there.
Got you. Okay. Because people always want to know the full time potential of any particular hustle. And
Yeah.
for this one, it sounds like the summary is obviously you can do a part time, you can also do a full time, but make sure you have a plan to scale from part time to full time. Not just
Yes.
like it's not like for instance, like Uber Eats, where I'm gonna do this part time, and then I'm gonna quit my job and then do it full time. Like there's no real transition. Like no, there needs to be a scalable transition from part time to full time, and that's this type of business. Would you say that?
Yes, yes. It's always best to keep your day job with almost any entrepreneur endeavor you jumping into. Keep your day job to have that main source of income coming in. And then once your part time or your passion start paying off, you'll kind of get that click in the head to know like now is a good time to go on. Take that leap of faith and do it full time. Once you start getting that traction, and then you'll have to push yourself maybe, but you'll know when it's a good time to do it.
Okay, and a quick disclaimer, everyone. I'm not recommending that you quit your full time job to do Uber Eats. I really am not. Okay, I was using that as an example. If you want to know the details of that, I have a whole show where 10 tips on how to succeed with Uber Eats. It shows you how to maximize making money with Uber Eats. But at the end, I did say I don't recommend doing it full time. So don't twist my words. But with that being said, we're about to start wrapping up the show. John, I always ask my guests if they have any question they want to ask me towards the end. So you got any question that you want to hit me with? It doesn't have to be about this. It can be about like anything.
No, I don't. As you mentioned, we are friends, so I kind of know more of your journey and everything. But
Right.
I could just say, instead of a question, I just want to tell you, on air, continue your own journey, keep moving forward, keep building. I'm seeing the work you're doing, and I'm here to support you, bro. And I'm loving everything that you're doing in the atmosphere because you helping out so many people, even if you don't even recognize it, don't even know it. Like you being inspiration to so many people out here.
Appreciate it. You'd also take that statement, flip it, and apply it to yourself because that's how I feel too.
Yeah, I'm truly honored. Thank you for that.
All right, everyone. We're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Side Hustler Society podcast. John, for people who want to get more of you or check out your products, where can they find your products, or if they want to connect with you? So feel free to drop any social media or your website.
Okay, my own personal social media. I'm on Facebook and on Instagram and LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram at official John Paul Thomas, and then my business www.jacob-john.com. You can find a lot of my clothing and everything on there. Or you could, if you're in the Dallas area, stop at my store. My address is 2817 Live Oak Street, Dallas, Texas, 75204. I'm open every day of the week from 12 to 8, Monday through Friday, and on the weekends, 12 to 6. Most likely, I'll be in here working in the back designing some things. I'll be happy to for you to drop by and to be able to just meet you and to build a connection with the community as I continue to grow my own business.
Awesome. And we'll be sure to leave a link to his website in the show notes. But with that being said, everyone, if you enjoyed today's episode, if you're watching on YouTube, if you can give a like for the YouTube algorithm, very much appreciate it. And also subscribe if you're new, if you want to be notified when the newest episode drops. If you're listening to the podcast elsewhere, if you could drop a review on the show, it'd be greatly appreciated. Lets us know how we're doing and how much, in what ways can we better serve you. With that being said, this is today's episode of the Side Hustler Society podcast. We'll catch you in the next one. Be profitable, everyone.
This episode may be over, but your hustling journey has just started. Visit thesidehustlesociety.com to access all links and resources mentioned in the show that will help you on your hustler's journey.